Hi, bestie. Today's episode is a little bit different. As many of us approach the 1 year mark of collecting blind boxes, I've been reflecting on what this hobby means to me, how it's changed over time, and what I've gotten from this world of designer toys. We joke all the time about how it probably feels like we've lost our collective minds to an outsider. We commiserate about the impact collecting has on our wallets and our spaces. We lament every pulled dupe or non target. Sometimes we even vow never again. Yet here we are. Here I am, now on a whole new level, recording a podcast about this hobby, and here you are listening to it. What's going on here? Surely, despite all of the criticisms, surely there's more to collecting blind boxes than meets the eye. And it made me think, what do blind boxes mean to us? What does collecting matter to us? And if it's not a compulsion, if there's a space for mindfulness and collecting to coexist, what does that look like? I don't want to tell anyone how to collect. I just want to think about why we collect. I wanted to hear other people's perspectives, so about a week ago, I put out a call asking if anyone would be willing to share their thoughts with me on collecting and mindfulness. I got 6 incredible volunteers willing to share their thoughts. Thank you so much to Rosa, Eric, Linda, Nikki, Rika. I'll tag them all so you can make sure to follow their accounts if you don't already, because if you're listening to this, you will 100% love their content. To my courageous volunteers, I'm going to call you my panel of experts. I just decided that, and you're welcome. But also, thank you for sharing your time and thoughts with me. I'm so delighted to be able to share with you not just my thoughts, but theirs as well. So let's get started. You're listening to the Blind Box Podcast, and this is the Mindfulness episode. So where do we even start? I asked all of our panelists an embarrassing amount of questions, actually. But I think what I was asking in all of that was really one thing. What is this hobby, these figures, what does this mean to you? Why do we collect? Why am I here? It sounds simple, right? And there definitely were a lot of common themes in the responses, but I think we can distill it all down to we are here because we find joy and self-expression in these tiny plastic or plush figures. I want to read Rika's response to you, and then after that, I want to play a few responses for you to hear. Rika wrote in, "To me, being a mindful collector means choosing items that genuinely make me happy or have personal meaning instead of buying everything just because it's popular or hard to find. I try to focus on pieces that fit my collection, display space, and budget, so each item feels special and appreciated." I love that, Rika. Here's what Eric had to say.
How do I decide what belongs in my collection? It has to mean something to me. It has to represent who I am, I guess. I don't collect for collecting's sake. I collect if I know that is something that I love, that means something to me. Like, for example, Skull Panda. I like edgy, dark Skull Panda. Image to Reality is more of a Salvador Dali feel, which I love art. Petals in Four Acts, because I love theater, has that idea. So that's why I collect that way. Everything has a story, a background. Since I was a kid, I was fascinated with mythology, and now I'm fascinated with the story behind these art figures. And I just love listening to it and hearing about it, and just, yeah, it's the story. It's all about the story.
Same, Eric. As you can tell, here I am.
My favorite part of collecting is the hunt and finding the great deal, because I try to find the best deal possible for the rare items. I try to find and dig for the best deal, and I go hog wild when I get a really good deal for a really good secret or a really good set that's been discontinued. I try my best to pay not too much. It makes me feel like I have hunted for the best prize.
You'll probably recognize this voice from TikTok. It's our girl, Linda.
For the first question, I'm kind of the worst person to ask this to because I collect roughly 15 IPs. I actually counted it recently because I had no idea how many I collected. So basically, I have like three different areas in which I collect. The first one is it cute? I'm really drawn to Pucky because I think it's a very cute, whimsical character. But then I also like characters that are very elegant, like Skull Panda. But I'm also drawn to the third category, which is those IPs with emotional backstories like Hirono. So it's kind of hard to decide what fits in. I mean, I definitely have ones that I don't like at all and they will never hit my shelf. A big thing that I focus on when collecting is the character's eyes. I know that's kind of a little weird to say. If the eyes are scary, no thank you. So my favorite part of collecting might be a little controversial because I think it ties very heavily into marketing psychology and consumer behavior in general. I recently have been loving Pucky, and I have been trying to get most of the discontinued series. And every single time I think I have them all, there is a new to me Pucky that I have never heard of. And just finding and searching for that and securing it, I don't know, that just kind of gives me a thrill. It's kind of like a little bit of a dopamine rush. And I think that's actually like my favorite part of collecting.
First question, how do you decide what belongs in your collection? I've always been a collector at heart. Growing up, it was things like Beanie Babies, Barbies. I was really big into the first Pokemon cards when they first started coming out too. So I loved NBA trading cards, Pokemon cards. Really, the thing that I loved to collect from youth was McDonald's Happy Meal toys. I don't think anyone can deny that. And that was great. Like, blind boxes just feel like the grown-up version of all that excitement, so I love it. Honestly, if it makes me smile, it really has a chance. I mean, I tend to collect characters that I have genuine connections with, so specifically Molly's and Hirono's, not just what's trending and cool at the moment. But my other thing is if I'm kind of on the fence about it, if I'm thinking about it days later, then that's usually my sign that it maybe belongs in my collection.
Thank you, Nikki. And you hit on something that also really resonates with me. So, to answer the question for myself, I personally have found a lot of meaning in this hobby. For me, I so appreciate the ability to escape for a few minutes. And on top of that, to do it with a community of people like you. Because the people in the blind box and designer toys community really are so nice. And it makes sense because the world around us can be incredibly depressing, dystopian, full of horrors. And so it feels like a nice little escape to talk about toys for 2, 10, 20 minutes, or maybe make a whole podcast about it. I don't know. It feels like a form of self care, really, to nurture that whimsical, maybe vulnerable part of yourself that adulthood has hardened or made self aware or self conscious. I look at my kids and I see them delighting in the world around them. And I feel like blind boxes have the opportunity to give adults that same feeling again for a few minutes, like Nikki mentioned. It's like having that happy meal and opening your toy to see what you got. And I don't think anyone should feel embarrassed about giving themselves permission to stay whimsical as adults. Because I watch my kids become absolutely fascinated by the most normal, overlooked, tiny things like a cool rock in the school parking lot, a sticker of a witch that they found in a library book. We used to be like that. And I really love that this hobby can give us the opportunity to experience that delight again. It almost feels like to give yourself permission to become a collector in whatever version of the term that applies to you is like giving yourself permission to embrace that more childlike part of yourself and doubling down on your ability to shape the world around you and fill it with small moments of joy and connection. Now, of course, I say all that and I do believe it, but I want to acknowledge that as a person engaging in a consumerist hobby, I'm absolutely sure there's other ways to feel that way without spending money. And even as a person who attempts honest introspection as often as possible, it's hard to unravel how much of my habits are influenced by the marketing of these billion-dollar brands, Without question, there are a lot of marketing tactics hitting us from all sides every day. We're absolutely inundated with different systems at play and psychological levers being pushed and pulled. Those are all working their magic on us, which really leads me to my next area of exploration, chapter 2, if you will. When collecting stops feeling joyful. I want to leave room for another side of the conversation because I don't think any hobby is joyful 100% of the time. Sometimes our relationships with the things that we enjoy can start to feel complicated. Maybe it's because there's new releases every week and you're running out of shelf space, or maybe it's because you started a channel out of the fun of it and now you realize it could become a monetization opportunity and a revenue stream, and that adds a pressure or a work sensation to this once just for fun hobby. Maybe it's just because you're comparing your collection to somebody else's. Maybe you bought something in the moment and was excited, but then you realized, why do I have this? Several of the people I talk to, and certainly myself, can attest to the fact that we experience buyer's remorse in this hobby for sure.
Have I ever regretted a purchase or a collection? What did I learn from it? Absolutely. Yes, yes, yes. I've definitely gotten caught up in hype before. It taught me to buy what I love, not what everyone else is chasing, because I think we all have some sort of FOMO in this community. Every single one of us, to some extent, on the spectrum of FOMO, right? So I'm trying to do better at just not letting the FOMO take over.
Actually, there is one big regret that I have. So, when it came to Labubus, I kind of got wrapped into the hype behind them. And I necessarily didn't need all of the Labubus. But then, because of this whole system that happened, this scarcity, or maybe it was artificial scarcity, I guess we'll never really know. I felt compelled, like I had to get the whole entire set. And that's something that I look back on now that I kind of regret doing because honestly, I could have just been fine with one or two. And I'm kind of taking that into my blind box journey now that I don't have to get everything from the series. I'm okay with just getting one or two things. I think the biggest regret I have is spending the money. And when I started my whole Pop Mart journey, I would get everything off of Pop Mart. I didn't know that you could buy them through resellers for cheaper prices. And I actually like the way the market's evolved now, where resellers are selling them for cheaper prices than Pop Mart. So I go to a lot of resellers to get my stuff. So the only regret I necessarily have is just spending that amount when it was cheaper out there, if that makes sense.
I have so many regrets when it comes to collecting. um, I bought some stuff that I didn't need. Like I bought some Space Mollies and I sold them all, and I bought InnoSoul because it was $100 the whole set when I saw them after Christmas sales. I didn't need them. I didn't need those. They didn't speak to me. So those are the things that I regret collecting because I'm like, they don't speak to who I am, and I don't need to collect for collecting's sake. There's also other things that I will not collect from my favorite IPs like Hirono. I will not collect certain things. For Labubu, I will not buy every single Labubu out there because it doesn't speak to me.
I don't feel like collectors have enough time to enjoy one release before the next one comes. So a slightly slower pace Pop Mart would make collecting feel a lot less stressful and more fun.
I remember when the Labubu hype first began, you didn't even get a drop time, yet alone a date at which the launch was happening. You would have to hop into a Discord and people would be monitoring the Labubu's drops like all day long. And then I noticed they started to release the launch days and the launch times. And I think Pop Mart noticed that that kind of garnered more interest and more consumerism towards their products. So they kept that up. And because of all of the demand that came in, Pop Mart felt compelled to release more and more and more. And I kind of feel like they're at a point right now where they lost I don't want to say a huge consumer base, but they lost a big consumer base because they are dropping this every single week. I've had so many people tell me that they financially can't afford to collect anymore. I've had people tell me that they have too many items that they just don't know what to do with them anymore. And I think Popmart would have a way more beneficial system if they maybe did like two big drops a month. Like Skull Pandas one week, take a break, and then Labubu's the next week, and then take a break. I think they would get more people willing to buy. It would help our wallets. And yeah, I think more people would end up buying the product since they have money now.
And Rosa said that she regrets every dupe she's ever pulled, which same. And she's wary of the financial toll collecting takes on her budget. Also, same. So, what's a girl to do? Heck if I know. But I do know it's just as important to take care of our mental health and our financial health as it is to take care of our physical health. So, I guess that's our challenge as collectors is to try to continue to be mindful and make sure that the hobby is adding to our lives more than it's detracting. Which brings us to the core central premise, the question that really started me thinking about making an episode about mindfulness is how? How do we practice mindfulness while also participating?
What I have done is just being more thoughtful for my collection and deciding what I want. Can I live without this? Or does this speak to who I am? Like I said before, you don't need everything. Just get your favorite stuff. You don't need every single exclusive. Just buy what you feel represents you. Kodak Hirono Bear was exclusive. I love photography. I bought that. But there are other exclusive Hirono figurines or plushies that are certain to the certain countries that don't speak to me or my brand. I'm not going to get them. I'm not going to get them. That's what a mindful collector means to me. I automatically now put it on my wish list. I don't feel like I have to get it immediately. So if it drops, it drops. I will get them when I can, which is my favorite one that I want to get that I can get right now. And I will get it. And then I will wait for the other one because they're still going to be available. Now I don't feel like I have to rush. And the weekly drops don't bother me that much because I also am very picky right now on what I want to collect. So I'll just handle that slowly.
When I started, I think it was all about getting more blind boxes, more finishing collections, doing all that. Honestly, and now it's more curating. I'd rather have a smaller collection full of pieces that I love than shelves of things I'm not connected to. And right now I'm in my destashing, rehoming era for that exact reason too. I've really put in a lot of time on Depop and friend trades and all. Really only keeping the things here that I genuinely love and am connected with.
So personally, I don't think I'm a mindful collector. I'm more of a compulsive collector, if I have to say. But I do admire the mindfulness of a lot of people. And I've definitely seen it more in the community that people are being more selective because they have so many IPs now that they can't store anything anymore. So I think once you hit that point, you start to narrow down your collection and see what really matters and learn from that.
After listening to everyone's responses, I think what I realized is nobody defined mindfulness as not buying things or saying you have to become a minimalist. Mindfulness really sounds to us a lot more like intention. Rosa shared something that really stuck with me. She says she tries to only buy the things she can't stop thinking about. And I love that because we've all had those figures we were convinced we needed on release day, and then they end up in a stash somewhere, maybe even unopened. I've tried doing something similar myself. I decided a few months ago that I would try only to shop new drops once a monthish. If I see something I really like and it keeps taking up my brain space beyond just the drop week, my goal is to try to get it confirmed first through friends who have dupes or strategically in the store, shaking boxes, trying to find my targets. or even trading with friends in the little community that's kind of developed around the swap boards that our absolute icon, Rachel, developed last year. Instead of shopping every single week, I kind of built in a little cool down period for myself to decide whether I really love something or whether I'm just caught up in the release day excitement. We're all drawn to different things for different reasons, but getting swept up in that excitement of a new release seems to be a universal theme based on everyone's shared responses. I can't make an episode about why we collect without talking about the thing that came up over and over again in everyone's answer, and that is community. I know, you're probably rolling your eyes at me because I talk about this every single episode, but apparently I'm not the only one. So many of you guys said that the best part of collecting isn't the thing, but it's the people. It's our group chats, our trades, our meetups, finding friends who share this interest with you, and the excitement of seeing them pull their targets or get a secret. Rosa made a really honest observation that I think many of us can relate to. She said she's gained incredible friendships, but she's also realized how influenced she can be by what her friends are collecting. It's so fascinating. We don't just influence each other to buy things, though. We influence each other to appreciate new artists, to notice details that we've missed, to branch out into new IPs. The community behind this is so powerful. It can encourage us to spend more, but it can also encourage us to trade instead of buying, to organize group orders, to celebrate each other's wins or laugh and cry about our losses. And it may not be why we started collecting, but I think it's why we're still here and perhaps why you are listening to me talk about collecting on a podcast where you can't even see any of the items that draw you into it, you know? I think it's a pretty nice trade-off, honestly. I want to include this clip from Linda.
Something this hobby has given me is definitely a sense of community in a way. I've always been a person who gravitates towards fandoms. My last big fandom that I was in was One Direction, actually. So I think it's just kind of nice because I found that the pop art community is very wholesome. I've never met a single bad person in there, a single toxic person. And, it's also given me an opportunity to start a TikTok channel. And it's something that I've really enjoyed doing and connecting with people. It's been really, really fun, and I would not take it back for anything.
What's something this hobby has given me? Friendships. For sure, the friendships I've made in this community, some of the people I've met here have become literal real friends, and some of them family. Some of my closest friendships have grown from collecting and here in the communities, and that's worth way more than any blind box or figure on my shelf. The friendships, the conversations, the shared excitement and motivations, and all are what really keep me here with collecting and part of the community.
Linda and Nikki speak about this beautifully in a way that I hope if you're out there listening, you can relate to. Because if you haven't found that community yet that you feel like embraces you or sees you or celebrates you, reach out because there's so many cool, kind people. Connect with me on TikTok. Let's be friends. Let me know what kind of IPs you like, what things delight you, because I know I can find you, your people as well. So, can collecting and mindfulness coexist? I think they can, because mindfulness is something that we practice, and I don't think there are any universal rules. Mindfulness will look different to you than it does to me. I think mindfulness can simply mean operating with intention, and my hope is that when you spend time reflecting on your hobby, my hope is simply that it gives you more than it takes. More friendships than frustration, more creativity than clutter, more laughter than sorrow. Because when I think back to why I started this podcast and what I said in episode 1, I wanted to find another way to enjoy this hobby together through conversations, through curiosity, through community, without spending a dime. Maybe it's a group of besties you have on TikTok cheering you on. Maybe that's a sibling that goes with you every time you go to Pop Mart, or picking figures out for your family that you know will delight them. Maybe it's listening to a podcast while you're driving to work, or embarking on an exciting new needlepoint project. Whatever it means to you, I hope you know that it's brought me so much joy to talk about this with you. Thank you for taking time out of your day to hang out with me. And thank you, Linda, Eric, Nikki, Rika, and Rosa for contributing to today's episode. I've learned so much from your responses. I'm so excited, bestie. The more we chat, the more inspired I am to keep talking. The best is yet to come. So until next time, bestie, I encourage you to reach out to somebody who brings meaning to your days and let them know you have the opportunity every day to be the best part of someone's day. Thank you so much for listening. Stay tuned and subscribe now to the Blind Box Podcast. And until next time, bestie, may the secret gods be in your favor, and I hope you pull all of your targets.